to let people in.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us for the second iteration of Falls Free Friday 2025. My name's Mia, and I'm with the Injury Prevention Research Center at Emory, and I'll be facilitating today's session. So this presentation, just so that you all know, it is being recorded and it'll be available on the iPrice YouTube channel. Just to reduce background noise, we do ask that you all keep yourselves muted for the first portion of the session, and we'll be able to get y'all off mute for discussion at the end of the presentation. Please use the chat box at any time if you'd like to stay off mute. You can also just put your questions in the chat. And if we don't have time to address all questions, we'll make sure to get those answers to you after the webinar. We'd like to thank the entire Falls Prevention Task Force for their dedication and expertise to bringing this virtual session to you all today. So, this session is titled Support and Self-Care for the Caregiver. I'd like to introduce our speaker for today's session, Alyssa Perkins. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, Alyssa has over 30 years of experience in aging services and is a dedicated social worker who has spent her career advocating for older adults, individuals with disabilities, and the caregivers who support them. The first half of her career was spent in the field, directly connecting with clients and managing services through Georgia's Community Care Services program, helping individuals age in place with the support of community-based options. In 2018, Alyssa joined the Atlanta Regional Commission, where she broadened her expertise in community resources through information and referral services. During the assist during the COVID-19 pandemic, she played a key role in a self-directed support program designed to assist overwhelmed caregivers. This work deepened her passion for caregiver support, a focus she continues to lead with empathy and strategic insight. Currently, Alyssa oversees the BRI Care Consultation Program at ARC, guiding caregivers through complex decisions with compassion and clarity. She also serves as co-chair of Atlanta CareNet, where she supports fellow professionals working across the caregiving landscape. Alyssa is known for her commitment to listening, problem solving, and empowering caregivers with practical solutions. So, without further ado, I'll pass it on to our speaker, Alyssa.
Hi, thank you for having me this morning. I do get excited to share the resources and services out there in hopes to empower the caregivers. So, again, thank you, and we will start. And you all can see my screen, right? I'm good to go. Let me know if there's a problem. The Atlanta Regional Commission, I'll just start off telling you that we have a vision that we are one great region, a mission fostering thriving communities for all within the Atlanta region through collaborative, data-informed, and planning investments. And you can see some of our goals on the right side. So I always like to start off each presentation with a quote from former First Lady Rosalind Carter. And there, you all may have heard it, but it's worth hearing again. There are only four kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. We are going to fall in one or more of those categories. And how do we become a caregiver? Well, typically, there's a crisis, an event that occurs, a diagnosis, a hospitalization, a fall, and we start to plan. We're making plans. We're having to rush into figuring out legal situations, medical support, home care, informal support, our jobs. And as we're in this race to try to figure out all of these moving pieces, we often neglect our own self. So today we're going to talk about building our self-care, as well as finding where are those resources for our loved one. Future planning we can do before the crisis begins, right? That is a wonderful preparation. Put this information in your pocket to make your journey a bit easier. The Conversation Projects helps people share their wishes for care through the end of life. It is a great aid in reducing some of those difficult and stressful conversations. This link has wonderful information. Recommend for all to look at that while they are still able and can have the conversations with their family. Now, empowerline.org, which is under the Atlanta Regional Commission and the Area Agency on Aging, also has a website that has information on advanced directives. But having this in place provides you with knowing what your loved one's wishes were. It helps the family as a whole, reducing stress, arguments, disagreements, to know you are carrying your loved one's wishes. Another important thing that I recommend everybody prepare is power of attorney. It's a legal document that allows an individual to make decisions on your behalf if you're no longer competent and able to do so. You can have a financial or a medical power of attorney. You can go to an attorney to ask for assistance, or you can actually go to a website, have it downloaded. Division of Aging Services has one on their website, I believe, and it has to be notarized and witnessed. And then this is a legal form which will provide you to have a loved one help make decisions on your behalf when you are no longer able. So, getting that power of attorney, advanced directives in place is highly recommended. I'd like to share this, although sometimes it's a bit daunting, are some of the statistics, or who are the caregivers. Now, the increase in caregivers over the past decade is astonishing. The number of family caregivers has jumped to 63 million Americans, representing a 45% increase in nearly 20 million more caregivers over the past decade. So in 2015, we were at about 43.5 million, and as of 2025, we are at 63. 43% of the caregivers are the sole care providers, and they're typically spending about 20 hours per week on caregiver duties. And we often hear talk about the sandwich generation when these caregivers are tending to their children, their work, and now they're also caring for potentially a parent or a grandparent. And they're juggling all of these responsibilities. This little piece is my least favorite to discuss, but at the same time, I feel it's urgent for us to understand this so that we can work on helping the caregiver and providing those resources. But the Stanford University study reports that 41% of Alzheimer's disease caregivers die from stress-related disorders before their loved one dies. And the caregivers have a 63% higher mortality rate than non-caregivers. So let's focus on what we can do to empower that caregiver. We're trying to help the caregiver balance that work, the caregiving, the mental and physical impacts, their inattention sometimes to their own needs, right? We want to ensure that caregivers are following up. They're following up with their medical appointments. They're following up, whether it's a therapist and a mental health appointment. All of that is crucial. Now, we were trying to play this video before we all got on here today, and we're having difficulty playing it, but I'm going to share with you a little bit of what it's about. And it's the emotional toll that we feel as a caregiver. All emotions are valid. There are going to be times when we feel sad or we feel angry. We have to know that it's valid. We are going to have a wide range of emotions, and they can change from day to day. And no one can actually tell us how to feel. They're our personal experience, they're individualized. In this video, which we're not going to try to play, right, Mia? We're just going to skip it. What we'll do is we will put the link on the chat, and or you guys can just Google that at your time, the story of an old father, his son, and sparrow. It's very powerful. It's very real. What it is this older man, his father, is sitting in the garden with his son and he sees a sparrow. And he repeatedly says, "What is that?" to his son. "What is that? What is that?" And the son tells him it's a sparrow. The son gets aggravated, agitated, tired. And he's like, "Dad, it's a sparrow." And then the father walks away. He comes back with a little journal and he has his son read it. And he shows him in this journal of when his son was a young child and they were at a park. And the son kept saying, "Dad, what is that? What is that?" And the dad told him each time it's a sparrow, but he also hugged his son each time he told him. And it just shows the compassion, and the son felt the love, and the son took a pause and was able to hug his father. But, that just shows that when we're going through it, it is so difficult to not react because we have so many emotions that are boiling and to just take a breath, respond, and, continue to provide empathy. So if you have the time, I recommend you watch that. It is very heartwarming. Okay. And as we have those emotional struggles, I want to remind everybody the Caregiver's Bill of Rights. I'm not going to read through them all, but it's all good for us to remember that as a caregiver, I have the right to be respected for the work I choose to do, to take pride in my work and know that I am making a difference. To take time off is also very important. We need to take that time off to regenerate. Okay. To socialize, maintain my interests, and sustain a balanced lifestyle. To own my own feelings, including negative emotions such as anger, sadness, and frustration. To convey hope to those in my care. To believe those in my care will prosper in mind, body, and spirit as a result of my caregiving. We might need to hang this on our wall to remind ourselves. Going to tell you about some of the other resources out there. We're going to first start off with some of the grants, and then we'll go and we'll dig deeper into some of the other services. Now we have connection cafes. They're quite new. I'd say they've been running through the counties for some of the counties for maybe a year to two. We have respite vouchers. Often you can find support from different religious organizations and support groups. Wanted to share a little bit about the Cafe Connection. I met a gentleman the other day who goes to one with his wife, and he described it as a social club. So, two of the counties have established a Connection Cafe. We have two in North Fulton and two in DeKalb. And it's a safe, comfortable environment for both the caregiver and the care receiver. Now, it's not designed as a support group. It's designed as a place to make connections and to feel comfortable with no concern of if your loved one has dementia and may say something inappropriate. It's a safe place where individuals can socialize and have a good time. And hopefully, we will continue to see an increase in the counties providing this service. I love that he called it a social club. We all need that. Some of the caregiver support groups and resources, Alzheimer's Association, fabulous support groups. They have them that are in person and virtual. They also have their 24/7 hotline. There are times when a caregiver needs to reach out for help at 11 o'clock at night. I remember being there at 2 in the morning and needing someone. So take advantage of that resource. There's an expert there to talk to you. I'm going to share a little bit more later on this program about TruAlta. It's an online resource for caregiver support, fabulous free program. And some people use social media. There are several different, let's see what we would call it, I guess, groups that are geared towards supporting one another in the community. So some of the respite vouchers that are current. Empowerline, which falls under the Atlanta Regional Commission, and you can use this link to get more information, currently has a grant that is being provided through the Jewish Family and Career Services. Now, funding may not always be consistent. There are times when we have more funding than others, but it's always good to find out if there is a wait list or if service is available. When we're talking about respite, we're talking about somebody coming in to sit with your loved one. The respite vouchers typically are limited. They may last for 6 weeks, so they're not an ongoing service, but they are some relief to give to the caregiver. Then we have Mind What Matters caregiver relief grants and Home Instead dementia home care grants. Those are some options for you. Again, funding plays a part, but you have to make the attempt to try to get it. So, building your support network. First door to knock on is ARC's Aging and Disability Resource Connection. They are there to assist you with a multitude of services. Their information line is 404 463 3333. Now, I'm going to show you in a few moments. There's also a website, empowerline.org, where you can use a self-serve system and try to make some connections and find out about services as well. Now, they can assist with screenings for potential services in the home, provide educational materials, provide information on transportation, housing, home modifications. They have resources to promote successful caring for a loved one. Just to give you an idea, Empowerline in their database or ePro in their database has over 26,000 resources. As I mentioned earlier, you are able to go to empowerline.org and do a self um, guide it yourself rather than trying to reach out to a counselor. You may want to start here, have questions, and then reach out to one of the counselors. But again, we offer information on non-Medicaid services, Medicaid services, assistive technology, care consultant programs. So there's a wealth of information to help support that caregiver. We're going to start off with some of the services. What is out there to help? Probably the most popular service that we have in the Atlanta regional area are the home and community-based services. These are your non-Medicaid services. You have to be 60 years or old to be able to receive one of these services. If you have a diagnosis of dementia, early onset prior to the age of 60, you may qualify for it prior to the age of 60. Some of the services that our home and community-based services provides are home delivered meals. We all have heard Meals on Wheels. Homemaker, which is an aide that would come in maybe once a week, provide some light housekeeping. Personal care to assist with showering, bathing. Again, that's usually once a week. respite care for the caregiver, and that usually looks like one time a week at 3 hours, and you have a case manager who helps with you. Now, of course, in the county, you also have your senior centers, congregate meals, transportation. Many of the counties assist with home modification, and there are adult day programs. And I say all this, and it is wonderful when services are provided. Throughout the Atlanta region, currently, most counties have a wait list. Some counties' wait lists are more significant, like Fulton and DeKalb, but I encourage you to get on the wait list because we cannot progress on a line until we're on it. And also, it is based on your need. They're going to triage, they're going to screen to see how much you need assistance with. You may have somebody who's on that wait list who then has a fall and their needs increase. They could be rescreened and potentially placed higher on the list. So, those are your county-based services. Our big program to help individuals remain in the home instead of a skilled nursing facility are the community-based elderly disabled waiver program. Under this program, we have CCSP and we have SOURCE. This program helps adults to continue living in their home. Eligibility for the program, they must meet what is referred to as a nursing home level of care. So they are screened and evaluated to make sure they actually they require assistance with many activities of daily living, or they are not able to be home alone. So they look at their functional impairment, their unmet needs. Now, a lot of people are initially turned off when they see that, oh, you have to be Medicaid, you must have Medicaid, but it's Medicaid eligible. So source, yes, you have to have SSI. CCSP, you may be able to pay a cost share and then receive the services. And just to make it clear, I know this is a lot of information. Source and CCSP provide the same services. So if you have an income that is higher than Medicaid, it is worthwhile to be screened for the program. Often, if you're a married couple, it's much more lenient, and you can often designate money to your spouse. Oh my goodness, I can't think of the terminology. Spousal diversion. Yes, so that's a possibility. So you may actually be eligible, and it's worth being screened for because some of the services provided under this program are adult day health programs, alternative living, which are personal care homes in our community where there's a staff member who will assist with some of those activities of daily living. The emergency response, we all know how important that is. Respite, which is having someone come to the home, providing that support. Structured family caregiving, I'm going to get back to that in a minute, also provides home delivered meals. And then you have the home delivered services, which are the skilled services like physical therapy, speech, occupational therapy. However, I would like to mention that the home delivered services under the waiver program are only really utilized if someone does not have Medicare. So the main services are the top ones listed that are utilized to increase the independence of the care receiver, provide the caregiver with the assistance needed so that they may continue to try to manage their life with all the balls that they are juggling. I wanted to just have a special slide on structured family caregiving because we often hear or read get paid to be the caregiver. And I wanted to just bring some clarity to this. That is absolutely true. It is possible for a caregiver to get paid. There are there's definitely some criteria that must be met before it is approved. And the first step, if you see any information about structured family caregiving or getting paid as a caregiver, is to call the Empower line because the first step is one must be approved for CCSP. Once they're approved for the program, then this is one of the services that they may be eligible for. Now, the caregiver must be related by blood or marriage. And another difficult piece to meet is that, well, one, they cannot be a spouse or guardian. Another is they can't have any other form of employment. So this has to be their only form of employment to receive the stipend under structured family caregiving. And they have to live in the same house. So that sometimes makes it a little bit more difficult. Again, when it works, it is beautiful, but it is something to speak to Powerline about when you are interested in getting paid as a caregiver. First, you have to make sure you are eligible for the waiver program. This program, too, fantastic, wonderful for caregivers. It's a free telephonic based information and coaching service for older adults. Now, we often get referrals from clinics or hospitals or doctor offices, other people, social services who will say, "Hey, we're working with a caregiver. They recently loved one had a dementia diagnosis, or they've had a stroke, or whatever the physical or cognitive disability is, and they're overwhelmed. And they want someone to help navigate over these hurdles that keep coming in front of them." Well, ARC has the BRI Care Consultation Program, and we provide support and help to find practical solutions to meet their needs. We talk about future planning, we educate about disease, and we help lead them to the programs, whether it's a county-based program, a Medicaid program, or respite grants. So it's fantastic. It's evidence-based. The caregivers can call their care consultant directly. Otherwise, the care consultant will follow up with them on an average of once a month. But again, it's an advocate, it's someone to help navigate some of those obstacles that you may have as a caregiver. Highly recommend. Mentioned another great resource for caregivers is Trualta. The Atlanta Regional Commission partnered with Trualta, a free online educational tool. You can Google empowerline.trualta.com to register, or you can use the scan. It's free for anybody in the 10 metro counties around Atlanta listed on the screen. Once you get into this program, and you can use a tablet, you can use your phone, it's fabulous because you could do it on your own time and it's very user friendly. Similar to Google, you'll have a search, you can put in falls, you can put in sundowning, you can put in many different topics and it will give you information written that can be read aloud to you. It will give you videos to potentially show you different ways to assist somebody with dementia getting out of bed. They have webinars, they have blogging, they have support groups. So this is a free tool that is available for caregivers. And I love that it sits at our fingertips. So check that out. Wanted to now jump to what can we do in the home? Let's provide a safe home. We know that most falls happen at home. It's so important to keep our floors clutter-free. Remove the small throw rugs. Use double-sided tape to keep rugs from slipping. Add grab bars in the bathroom. Have handrails installed on staircases. Make sure homes have lots of light and create a calm, simple, and familiar environment. Now, I don't want it to sound as though oh, it's so easy. I'm going to go add a stair rail to my stairs, and that's something that is outside your wheelhouse, or it may not be affordable. Please call Empowerline and check to see if there's any resources in your community, in your county, if there's any help with that. But having that safe, free, barrier-free home is crucial. Want to talk a little bit about movement, how important that is. You know, as a caregiver, we want to also concentrate on our own health and exercise. It's good for you, it's good for your loved one. It helps us feel better mentally, emotionally. I'd like to tell people that, I have another slide coming up later that talks about how important consistent exercise is. And it says exercise regularly. And we all know that's good. That's great. We want to do that. That's what we want to do. But it's not often our reality. And I've been a caregiver for many people in my family. Right now, today, I am not a caregiver, and I still have difficulty exercising regularly. So, one thing we can do is, you know what? We can take 5 minutes to go to our bedroom, shut our door, play our favorite song, and dance and move. So, you know what? That's a start, and we know what's good for us, and we just need to head in that direction. ARC has some wonderful evidence-based workshops. They help with self-managing conditions such as diabetes, pain, asthma. We have prevention fall programs. So I would love for you guys to take a look at this, and we'll have this flyer available to see if any of these programs are of interest. They're typically 6 to 16 weeks, depending on the program. There are no costs. This might look really small to y'all, but I want to share with you what some of the workshops are. We have Aging Well with Your Pain. We have Aging Well with Your Health Conditions, Aging Well with Your Diabetes, Powerful Tools for Caregivers, A Matter of Balance, the Tai Chi for Arthritis and Falls Prevention Program, Bingo Size, and Aging Mastery. Magistry might have been an interesting word for there, but mastery. So these are some of the options through the evidence-based workshops provided through the Atlanta Regional Commission, which can help physically, mentally, all of the above. So we're getting towards the end, and I want to share again how important taking care of yourself is. As your loved one illness progresses, your loved one's going to require more care. And we need to remember that we have to care for ourselves as well. Ask for help. Don't assume that people will automatically help you. Sometimes we need to ask, and then we need to ask again and again. There may be different ways of helping if a loved one or if a family member is not able to help physically. You can ask, hey, do you have any extra money so I can help pay for someone to come? Reach out. You're advocating for your loved one as you reach out. If you feel overwhelmed or depressed, consider speaking with a therapist. Consider joining a support group. Reach out. You do not have to do this alone. So, as we said, commit to exercising regularly. I'm going to say commit to dancing in your room as a start. Eat a healthy diet. Keep your doctor appointments. Take medications as they're directed for you and follow up. Practice meditation. Listen to music. Do breathing exercises. Sometimes you have to step away to regroup, re energize. So let's take care of ourselves. We will make mistakes and we need to forgive ourselves. I always tell this story that I had once called my boss on the way home from caring for my dad who had dementia. Hard, hard day. And I called her and I said, that's it. fire me. I need to be fired. I cannot assist caregivers when I cannot provide the care I want to because I was tired and I was not pleased with my reactions. But we have to forgive ourselves. Some days are harder than others. We need to forgive ourselves, re-energize, use that as a learning tool, and provide the best responses we can. Education is so important to understand the illness better. Whether it's being educated on how to assist with proper transfers or how to respond to an individual with dementia. Let's not forget who we are. We need to continue to delegate some of our priorities or what is needed to other family members. Think about adding some of the formal services like the Medicaid waiver or a county-based service or a respite program. Try to continue to pursue your own hobbies and interests. We need this for our mental health and our physical health. Some things we can't change, and we have to be forgiving to ourselves. We have to set realistic goals and expectations. And then I always say prioritize laughter, and I have a wonderful little video on the next one, but our audio is not working. But you all can Google this. Laughter releases endorphins, which are 10 times more powerful than morphine, increases oxygen, and therefore replenishes and invigorates our cells. We can watch this video, but we cannot resist smiling when we see it. It lights us up. And so, if we can bring that laughter back, and for some reason, up there we go. So, I hope that you've learned about some of the resources and about taking care for yourself. And I would love to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alyssa, for that wonderful presentation. I believe we have one question in the chat right now. For those of you who may have more questions, please feel free to post those in the chat, or you can go ahead and come off mute. The first question for you, Alyssa, is do these respite vouchers renew annually or are they one-time use?
That is a great question. So, the respite vouchers are typically one time, but they are often repeated if you apply again, say 6 months or a year later. But they're made to be one time. But depending on your need and depending on the influx of people who are reaching out, I've often seen people have it more than one time.
Okay. And we have a question from April. She asked, what gaps do you find are most prevalent in caregiver support, and where would you like to see more innovation?
I feel that the information isn't that readily available. People come into a crisis and they have no idea where to turn. We're not pre-planning. We're surviving every day. We're working, we're taking care of our kids. But to make this information more seeable so that we can then scoop up and help navigate the journey. That's one. Of course, the availability of services like community-based services, more funding going towards that would be amazing. So there's lots of places, but to start letting people know where to go.
Just kind of going off of that, I wonder, Alyssa, I know that the role of the caregiver um, can be very closely tied to like cultural
Mhm.
backgrounds. So I'm wondering if some of the resources that you've mentioned have there been any initiatives to adapt them either to different cultural contexts or languages?
Oh, absolutely. So the resources, the information line, we use the language line, so we're able to definitely communicate. And there are many adult day healths in the community that are specifically designed like for the Korean community, where at the Adult Day Health Center, they may have, the foods that are then made that they're used to. And so there's quite a few that are designated not just Korean, but that's just one example. So there's definitely a respect for culture. Do I think that can grow? Absolutely. But we can see that it is shifting towards that.
And um, how do you recommend that folks or caregivers kind of start these difficult conversations with family members about sharing responsibilities? Because I know you mentioned like the importance of asking for help. I think that can be a barrier for a lot of people, just it's not naturally like what you're inclined to do. So do you have any strategies for like starting that kind of difficult conversation?
Sure. And you often do see that caregivers, there's one sole caregiver.
Mhm.
One way to look at it as you are let's say your mom, you're your mom's advocate. You're not necessarily doing it for her. You're doing it, I mean, for yourself, you're doing it for her. So if you take on that role that I am advocating for her, I think it makes it a little bit easier to reach out. But then sometimes you have rejection and that hurts and you want to say, forget it. I don't want to do that anymore. But then, try different avenues, whether it's a friend or it's somebody in your religious community. But I would look at it as it's really not just for me. I need to be a better me, and that might be by getting relief and respite. But the ultimate goal is to advocate so I can be a better caregiver. So reframing that could help a little.
It's kind of like the idea of I need to fill my cup in order to be able to pour into others.
Right. And sometimes it's harder for us to ask for help for ourselves than it is for someone else. So
Mhm.
if we're thinking, this is for mom, it's easier for us to advocate for mom
Mhm.
than it is to advocate for ourselves, which we shouldn't be that way, but somehow, right?
Yeah.
We all need to work on that.
Yes. Yeah. And we have another question from April. She asked, how do you help caregivers recognize when stress crosses into burnout? And what are those kind of practical first steps that you would recommend?
Right. I mean, I will say one of the first things I think about is sleep. Adequate sleep is crucial, but I mean, burnout is real. And at that point, you need to figure out what are the causes. Is it something with your loved one that we need to think about? Do they need to see their doctor? Is it a medical condition? Is it a, neurological condition? Let's figure out if that can be helped at all. Then we need to try to see what's out there also for us. Is there a support group? Is there a therapist I can speak to? But just building that network of support is huge. I don't know if I answered that completely, but it's a complicated question. When we have burnout, we need to reach out for help.
Mhm.
And if we feel like there's no help, remember the Alzheimer's Association has their 24/7 call log. You can reach out to Empowerline to see if there's any services available. So, or, try to connect with someone.
And we have another question. How can we encourage proactive self-advocacy through advanced care planning for caregivers? In parentheses, recognizing that many may pass before their care recipient.
That's huge, huge. Um, if you have family, talking to your family. If you have an attorney, Making sure you have either a trust or the will in place if you're concerned that your loved one is going to need to be in an assisted living or a skilled nursing facility, trying to look into that before and talking with your family. I mean, nobody wants to think about it, but absolutely it is the smartest thing to do. Try to journal, write down what steps you'd like to have taken care of and how your loved one would be cared for.
Mhm.
I just have a a quick question as well. Thank you, Alyssa, for all this information. I was a former caregiver and will likely be a caregiver again as my parents start to age. But if someone listening today remembers just one thing from your presentation, what would you hope it would be? What would you hope your biggest takeaway would be for today?
I can't do that. I can't give one. But for me, I was a caregiver for my mom, my dad, and my husband. And for me, one of the biggest things to take away is forgive yourself because
Yeah,
there are times when you're not going to have your best day. And the second thing is look at those resources because we need to have that support so we're not doing this alone. Even if it's a care consultant you can speak to and she can help navigate finding out about those services.
thank you.
All right. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And while you all do that, I'll go ahead and close this out. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise today. I'd also like to thank all of you all who attended. Um, we we really appreciate you being here and listening to this very useful information from an expert and asking great questions. As a reminder, this session is recorded and it'll be available on iPrice's YouTube. I believe the chat has been posted, or the link has been posted in the chat. If you have any additional questions that you didn't get a chance to ask our speaker, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can email um, either Megan at TPH or iPrice, and we will definitely put you in contact with Alyssa so that you all can chat further. And lastly, there's going to be a brief survey at the end of this session as you exit. Please, please, please provide some feedback so that we can continue improving these sessions. And we hope to see you all next Friday for the third Falls Free Friday 2025 session. This one's going to be called Tools for Life, and it's titled Defying Gravity, Assistive Technology for Falls Prevention. And this is all in support of Fall Prevention Awareness Month. Again, thank you so much to our speaker, Alyssa, and all our participants who've joined us today. Um, we're going to go ahead and give you all back 10 minutes of your Friday morning. And we thank you again for joining us. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Now you can take a deep breath.
I'm still I've spent this whole time trying to figure out the video thing,
Mm,
the audio thing, and I don't have like I'm asking ChatGPT and Google and
yeah.
stuff, and I don't have the settings that they're telling me that I need to check or uncheck.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna just reach out to the like Emory IT people who gave me access to the webinar license because I think it
Oh,
must be a setting or something
yeah.
on their end.
I was doing some digging too, and it looked like it might be a settings issue. So originally I could not send a message in the chat to everyone in the group. It was only going to the host and panelist. So then I think, Jill, you fixed that because then I all of a sudden could do it again. But I also could not see the attendees the entire time until the very end. All of a sudden they started popping up when the screen stopped sharing, and then I saw all the participants. So I
Yeah,
don't know what the issue was.
that's because
Yeah.
I have so on the webinar you have like
Mm.
attendees and then you have panelists. And so in order for the attendees to show up, I have to allow them to talk. And
Oh,
I didn't do that until the end.
got
So
it. That makes sense.
that was my bad. And then
No, that's okay.
as I was like answering the or trying to talk, I was like allowing everybody. And so that's just for the future. I just have to I think last time I promoted everybody to panelists, so this time I figured out you can just like let them talk and then they show up in the screen.
Gotcha. That makes sense. To be honest, it's probably helpful. So then the recording is only focusing on the speaker and the panelists, not necessarily the full audience. So, hey, totally makes sense. I thought it was
Yeah.
something on my end. So I was like, wait, let me make sure I'm not messing something up for everybody.
Yeah, no. And I think, Alyssa was sharing her screen for the whole time, so I don't think
Yeah. Yeah.
um so I have on my uh fix before next Friday list the audio video or audio sharing thing. And so do you guys think I should just like keep everyone as an attendee versus us until the end of the like we did this time?
I
I
think that
would.
makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think if it's possible to make Megan a co-host at the get-go
Oh, yeah, that would be helpful.
Yes, at the
or a host, like I couldn't actually change you, Megan. Like I'd asked
Oh,
Mia because I was a co-host and it didn't allow me to add you as a co-host then. I was like,
gotcha.
okay, well, apparently only the host has that permission power.
and
It's
I
super
think
weird because I thought attendees were posting, like other people were posting to everyone. So I was like, again, is this a me problem? I couldn't figure it
I don't
out.
know.
can
But
there
we got it
be
to work out at the end.
can there be more than one host or no?
I, I don't
So
know.
so I
No,
think I went to I added you as a co-host, Megan, because
Mhm.
if so I just made you a host,
Oh, I see.
but am I still the host? Like, can I
Let's
still?
see.
Because I have a reclaim host button.
Oh no, it looks like it moved it to me, and Jill is still a
Oh,
co-host, and I don't see
yeah.
anything by your name. So maybe there can only be one.
Yeah, because I think that's why I did co-host instead of
That makes sense.
Yeah.
host.
But yeah, for whatever reason, it only allows the host to like allow other people to be elevated to host or co-host. I don't
Got
know.
it.
That it was really
You
Zoom
never
was
know. I
just weird
swear,
today.
yeah, Zoom updates all the time. I feel like I always have to learn something new every single time, so that's
Yeah.
okay. No worries, Mia. I know there's like a lot of complications, so I was like, I don't want to add anything else to your list, and so I was messaging Jill instead,
No,
just so you
no,
could stay
Who
on
was like,
it.
I have no idea how to fix this. Like, Mia, are you able to fix this? Like,
no.
I don't
Yeah, right.
know.
I've never done like I've never man or done like the webinar thing,
Yeah, me neither.
which is it's super different than the
Interesting.
meeting. So thank you guys for your patience as I try to
Yeah.
figure this out.
Yeah, we were all struggling together, so
I
it's all right.
really thought I was
Uh,
on there at me and Alyssa got on at like 11 or 9:43 and I was like, oh, we have 17 minutes. Like we're gonna troubleshoot everything, get everything set up. And then I was like, I felt like a mad
Yeah,
cow.
yeah.
Oh,
Hey, it worked out, and thankfully, hopefully, other people didn't necessarily notice. I know the attendees came in right away, so I'm sure they heard
Oh,
some of it, but
that's the
yeah, hopefully
other
they didn't
thing
hear all of it.
is that I have is adding a waiting room so that um people like I have to let them in.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
But
Um
hey, it worked out.
and then
although the save states like technical issues were like next level on some of their like stuff. I was like,
Yes.
yeah,
I felt bad for a few of the speakers just because it just seemed really complicated because you're in an app in Zoom. Yeah, it got a little
yeah.
complicated.
yeah,
And
I felt really bad.
if you joined out of the app in Zoom, because as speakers, you could join out of the app, but then you couldn't see any of the chat in the app because everyone was chatting in Hoova because that's where everyone
Hmm.
else was at. But your functional like skill, like your ability to present and do other things
Oh,
was better in Zoom. So they wanted you to join via Zoom, but then you didn't have access to anything that people were saying or like any of the, I was like, I don't,
oh,
this is a hot
strange.
mess. Like,
Yeah. I
I
didn't know that. I didn't speak, so yikes.
yeah.
yeah, I that was my first virtual conference.
Mm.
Um and I had a lot of like preconceived ideas going in, and they were all accurate.
Well, now I want to know what your preconceived
Well, no,
ideas
not
are.
preconceived idea. Just I was just like, I don't think that a virtual conference will be like give you the benefits of a conference and that and the networking
Necessarily. Yeah,
the
you're missing the networking. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the I mean even like being engaged like I it's hard for me to stay
Yeah.
really engaged for all for
Yep.
several Zoom presentations in a row.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I had to bounce to different rooms to help like keep me engaged, like moving from the desk to the table to somewhere else to sitting
Yeah.
outside because otherwise I felt like I would start gazing off.
Or
Yeah.
just like
And I
you're
want to know how people made 33 stars. I was like, I was lucky to make like
Yes.
10 sessions, like
yeah.
over the course of 3 days, because everything was in. And I was like, are you literally like just bouncing from room to room and not
Yeah.
staying for like the dual things? Because that's the only way you would make it to that many sessions, because you have not that many sessions in a row that you can make it
Hmm.
to on any because they were like 11 to 4 so that no matter which time zone you were in you
Yeah.
weren't having to get up super early or stay like super late in the day and I was like well this isn't like that I mean it's like a very confined window that you
Yes.
have to work in and then Lisa and I were chatting like it was really hard to cancel everything else off my calendar then
Yeah, same.
because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like keep this meeting and it'll be fine. And then all
Hmm.
of a sudden, like I was like, oh, I'm in meetings like all day
Yeah.
that are for my real job and not this
Right.
conference where I would have canceled those if I was at the conference.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I
It
agree.
was
I attended one of the networking sessions the first day in the morning. And that one, I think they did a pretty good job. I don't know if you guys were in that, but they put you in like groups. Every like
oh
10 minutes, you switch to a different group.
oh
Oh, that's
So
exciting.
it kind of forced you to talk to people because you're only in a room with like two to three other people. Otherwise, it would be painfully awkward. So people did actually talk and they did actually come off of camera. Now, the other ones that I went on, like sessions, people didn't really do that. So there was only the
mm-mm.
one opportunity that people did.
Hmm.
And I did a lightning talk, so it was like 10 minutes and
Oh,
we were
yeah.
supposed to do the talk like 4 times. So I gave 4 different talks because like
Yeah.
apparently I didn't practice enough in advance and I was like I was like, oh well my talk has changed now 4 times depending on what I wanted to speak about on any given slide. I was like, oh well, it's just like all poor Paige. I was like, Paige, I think I just gave 4 different talks. And she's like, don't worry, everyone was in like different rooms. So nobody knows that you gave four
Nobody
different
knew.
talks except me. Like
Hmm.
and then there was like technical difficulties. So we all
Yeah.
started the talks like 15 minutes late and like
Yep.
ton of people just dropped off because they were like, we're not putting up with this technical difficulties.
Yeah.
What's the lightning, so like you would move around to different rooms and like you were in, and then,
Hmm.
Yeah, and the participants all stayed in that
Yeah.
one room. So they split them all up into four different rooms. And then we, as the speakers, moved from room to room to room, as opposed to just having four
Hmm.
sessions in the same room with 100 people. They
yeah,
forced us to do a presentation four times in four different rooms with like 15 people per group.
wow.
Um,
What's the
I
I
think
have written,
I think the idea of it was to try to get people to like engage. So this was like their version of like a poster session, I think,
yeah.
was the idea. I
But
don't know if
then
it
you can't
quite came
really
to
engage if
fruition.
you don't have time to actually think it. Like when you're at a
yeah,
poster, you're actually sitting there and reading the stuff at the poster
Yeah.
and then asking questions. And so it was like, okay, you have 8 minutes or 10 minutes to describe what you did, but then there's no time for them to actually engage with it because by then you're leaving.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
I agree. It was
I was
so
like,
fast.
yeah, it's like,
Jill, if
oh,
you went last year, right, in Portland to Safe
mhm.
States? I think they tried this last year, and I remember doing this survey or something similar. And I remember doing the survey, being like, "Yeah, I didn't like this. It was too fast." So I was very
Yeah,
surprised that they did it again
that
because
they've,
I don't think I was the only one who didn't care
yeah.
for it.
No, it's like it needs to be about 10 minutes of a presentation and 5 minutes for questions,
At
but
least.
otherwise, like there nobody has questions and nobody has like anything
Yeah.
because it's too fast. And
Hmm.
like by the time I even got in the room, I was like discombobulated from 15 minutes of
Right.
like technical issues and like troubleshooting. And I was like, I don't know what we're doing at this point, but they're like,
Yeah.
talk quick because in like 45 minutes it's done and you have to be like out of these rooms. And I'm like, okay, well, this is entertaining.
Yeah.
Um, oh
I think they
well.
tried their best. Like, I'm happy that they didn't cancel the conference because I think there was still like a lot of valuable information. But yeah, a virtual platform is always challenging. Like, there's always going to be issues, no matter how prepared you're going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly. I mean, it's just if stuff that didn't happen this time, I'm sure there would have just been other stuff. But yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like given they made the best of the like circumstances, like I think it
Hmm.
made sense to move it to virtual just because of the
Yeah.
times that we're living in. But
Yeah.
I
The lack of nobody would have gone if it wasn't
yeah,
virtual
that's
because
I
nobody
Probably
had
not.
travel permissions. So,
Mm-mm. We don't even
uh,
think from DPH's end we would have gotten travel, and most of us are in the Atlanta metro area. So,
yeah.
um all right, I have to
Ugh.
hop off. I have a 11 o'clock meeting. But I will update the attendance, Jill, on the tracker. And then Megan, can you remind me, do you want me to email the PowerPoint out to the people that attended? Or
um, if you can, I have to double check with Alyssa again. I can't remember if she said she had the approval to send it, but let me double check. And if you can, that's great. I know we have a lot of people who are always interested and they'll always email me,
yeah,
so sometimes it's good just to send it if you're able to.
yeah, for sure. Just wanted to just was trying to remember if that's part of like the protocol.
Okay. Yeah, no, that works. I'll double check with her right after I hop off this and I'll keep you posted.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
See you. Bye.